Hey everyone, let everyone come in here to the webinar, and I appreciate you guys all showing up here. My name is Frank Pleasants. We got Kristan Cole on here, and the promise for today's webinar is going to share with you the best model for mega agent expansion. This is something that Gary that Keller Williams talked about for years, but it wasn't really until the past few years. Well, it was actually a little farther than that people were kind of tripping over and figuring out the best way to do it. And it seems like, especially after COVID, when everything went work from home and people were more comfortable working virtually, that the models for agent expansion have really kind of solidified of like what works really well. And you're even seeing like large companies coming in and expanding. So today we have about 30 minutes with Kristan here. Kristan, thank you. My name is Frank with Viral Marketing, and this is Kristan with Kristan Cole Network, and we're going to talk about the best agent expansion model. You ready, Kristan?
I am ready.
So why don't you tell me what are some of the competing ideas of how to run a mega agent expansion team? What are the big competing ideas, the ways to do it? And then I want to know how you set yours up for success.
So I think, especially in the beginning, I think people thought just going and finding another agent in a location near you where leads were naturally, organically going was the right idea. The problem with that is that's very difficult when through natural attrition, someone ends up moving to another state and you don't have literally a team there. Then the next thing we thought was, well, okay, so let's get, 5 people in that location and honestly have them operate as a pod, but they're still individuals, but they're operating as a pod. And that's okay too. Neither one of those, I think, long-term are ideal, although they can work. What we found is the best model is to go find agents who maybe have built a team and became a great salesperson, but maybe they're not a great leader or don't want to be a leader and or don't have the systems in place to really scale their company. They may have been able to grow it, but a lot of them might have hit a ceiling of achievement and can't get past it, for whatever reason. Maybe they need, very rarely is someone joining our organization because of leads. It's usually our systems, our models, our onboarding, our training, our automation. And then the other group, Frank, that we have found a lot of people in this situation where, and maybe you found it too, they have not planned for retirement and they're in their late 40s or 50s and they look up and they say, my lifestyle has increased to the level of income that I'm earning. However, I haven't planned for retirement at all. And so beyond just a team wanting to join us because we basically have built the foundation from soup to nuts. But the other reason is we actually have a plan in place that they could actually retire with a residual income that some agents are pretty excited about. So that kind of takes you from the beginning to where we are now. Today it's not unusual for us to onboard a 40, 50, $60 million team. Right now, we're in dialogue with a team that closed 250 million last year. And you think, well, why on earth would they join us? Because there's just parts of the business that not everybody wants to either build. It is hard to build it.
Yeah,
it really is. And we, along the way, you grow up and you redefine your systems, and then you test them to see if they scale. And then once they scale, you expand them. Once you expand them, then there's pieces of it that you have to automate in order to be able to onboard, say, 50 people in one day.
What's the pitch, Kristan? So give me the model pitch. Like if you're looking to recruit me in 60 seconds, give me the quick pitch and how is it economically structured? What percent do I pay to you?
Questions. So the first question I would answer, and I'd say this, Frank, what is it that you don't want to do anymore? And that has caused you to pick up the phone and call me. What is your pain point? What is it? Because everybody's different, honestly, and taking them through the motivational piece and finding out why they are actually, because today they come to me rather than us having to call and get people, go to them.
I think a lot of it's just, I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted of the turnover of staff. I'm exhausted of changing the systems. I'm tired. I want someone that's figuring that out. And I just want more simplicity and consistency, especially if maybe you're kind of going toward the retirement side. That's what I would think.
It's not unusual, Frank, for somebody to have built maybe a great small team and have a great income, but they're still there's still only one person between them and getting a job back.
Yeah.
And so, when you scale big enough, I go to bed at night and I don't worry about whether or not somebody moves on to another location or another opportunity because of the depth of our bench. And that you have to be a pretty big organization to.
So you got through the messy middle. One is the worst number in business. So you have several people there to cover if someone leaves and management structure. So there's a lot of consistency on the back end of getting through that terrible middle part where you only have one person in the position. And you've done that.
That's terrible. Oh yeah.
The Messy
terrible.
Middle. Good book, by the way. Go get the book, The Messy Middle.
Yeah.
But I want to ask you, tell me the economic structure. How does the money work when someone comes on to your expansion team?
Super simple. It didn't used to be. It used to be very complex. So here's the simplicity. If it's out of your SOI, it's 80-20. If it's business that's not in your SOI, it's 50-50. That's it. That's all. Pretty simple, huh?
So anyone can join your team and that's a split.
Yep.
That's easy.
It's really easy. We had it so complex in the beginning. There's no way to have scaled what we had built out in the beginning. It was way too complex. Over time, we know this works at scale.
What's the difference between expanding around the country with your team versus having just a local team? Is there any fundamental difference?
You mean in how it's run?
Yeah.
Not really. It's just that when you have a small team in one location, you haven't automated anything and you don't have a bench. And you wake up and you might have gotten a job back during the night.
How many support staff do you have supporting the agents? How many human beings?
So outside of our leadership team or including them?
Including the leadership team. How many people are in salary or wages, not
20.
commission? 20 people supporting everyone.
Mhm.
And how many agents do you have now?
I don't know, maybe 150.
That's
it
incredible.
changes all the time.
That's one of the largest teams I know of. It's the way that it's structured. That's a large team. Usually most teams maybe get to like 30 or 40 people. And then they aren't able to hire the next level of management to get to the next level, which is that terrible messy middle. And
Right.
you've busted through that to be able to manage and help 150 people. And again, if it's a business from their own database, 80-20,
Mhm.
and if you provide the business, it's 50-50. Let me ask you, is everybody on the same CRM or is everyone working on different CRMs?
Everybody's on Brivity.
So everyone's operating off of Brivity. So you have one consistent CRM for all of your expansion partners,
Yes.
right?
Which makes it great for our admin team because obviously they're working off of one platform.
So you can see all the leads for the whole organization coming in. You can see all the nurtures in the organization in there, and you can see all the deals and where they are in the pipeline stage for 150 agents in one
Also,
CRM.
yeah, you can. And what the beauty of that, Frank, is there's nowhere to hide.
Yeah. So you have recruiting. Give me the quick, when you reach out to an agent, and let's say they know you and they trust you and they will give you the time of day because they've been to your events and they've seen your videos. So it's not totally standoffish. And you want to invite them to a conversation about maybe coming over here might be an easier way for your business. Give me an idea of that conversation, assuming somebody is already warmed up to you. Like, how do you invite them to have that recruiting conversation? What do you say?
I do it the same way Gary Keller did. I invite him to one of our events. Like we have our big summit next week. We're going to have over $1 billion worth of volume in the room. We've got some big thinkers in the room. And I was like, you know what? I know we've experienced one another at some point in time, and we're to the point where you're thinking about joining us. Come to the summit and see if our culture, our organization, who we are is a fit for you. And we really boiled it down, Frank, to we call it the 4 Gs: grit, grace, growth, and give. If after you experience us, that's not a fit for you, then it doesn't matter how much business you do. It doesn't matter whether or not we can or can't help you. The bottom line is if our culture of the 4 Gs doesn't resonate with you, we're probably not the right organization.
That's so interesting because that answer could have gone a such different way. Hey, I want to talk to you. We're number one. We have a whole bunch of leads. I have more leads than I can handle over, what I'm talking about, right? I have so many leads, I can't handle it. Will you come over here and work for us and whatnot? And your answer was come to an event to experience the culture.
Mm-hmm.
And that's right, huh?
Oh, 100%.
How many years did it take you to learn that?
Seems
That
like
answer.
a lifetime, but I would say probably 5 years. Gary says you can be anywhere you want to be in 5 years. Where do you want to be? John Maxwell says it very similarly. Show me your 5 friends and I'll show you your world. Show me the people you spend the most time with. And so I just started spending time with people who had already done what I wanted to do, maybe in a different genre, but they'd already done what I wanted to do, and I learned a lot from John Maxwell. He taught me a lot about leadership and a lot about chasing business versus attracting business. And that helped a lot.
So we opened up a bit on, you already answered the question on what's kind of the ideal expansion agent persona or target market, that type of individual. We just went through a basic reason to reach out of how you recruit somebody, and it's to invite them to an event that you're holding, which works great. You discussed the fees and the split structure, 80, 20, and 50-50 across the board. That's it?
That's it.
Easy peasy. All right. Let's talk about the services you provide. So if someone's going to give up the 20% or give up half their commission for a business you provide, what do they get in return? And kind of take me through the whole life cycle from marketing, lead conversion, presentations, listings, transactions, past clients. Kind of give me the whole deliverable across the spectrum of what you get in return for the money.
So I would call it the 5 value propositions of a disruptive business, whether it's real estate or not. The first one is admin support. So admin support from playbooks for recruiting, playbooks for events, playbooks for lead gen, playbooks for everything that we do. We have a playbook for everything. To really being your back end for agent services.
Where do you put those playbooks? I'm just curious. Where are they? Where are your playbooks? If I join your team, where are they?
They're in our intranet.
On your company intranet, you have, these are all the plans to achieve the result, all written out.
And to tell you how cool that is, Frank, we had a gal join us.
That had been incredibly difficult to write that.
The first one was so painful, I can't even tell you. But
like, how does someone like you, a high D personality, sit down and write a playbook?
Because it has to be done. And I know what I want. So if I just write the first one the way I want it, then it can be duplicated. So the first one was open houses, and I seriously wanted to poke my eyes out. But here's what I can tell you about that. A gal joined us. She never sold real estate before. It was during our super, super busy season. And so we just said, hey, here's the open house playbook. Just do this. She was rookie of the year in Alaska that year.
That's incredible.
That's all she did, was run the playbook for open houses. So I think that's the difference. And Garrett, a lot of leaders have found that they can only do so much entrepreneurially. And there's a point at which that if you haven't documented what you do, or what you don't even realize that you're doing every day, that it's very difficult to succeed without you being in it all the time. So I'm not in it all the time anymore. But what I can say is that now that we've documented, people can pull out a playbook and run any play, and it will be successful as long as they run the play.
So you had the playbook. Is there any human support behind executing the playbooks?
Oh, 100%. So on the left-hand side of the playbook, it tells you what you as an agent need to do and what day of the week you need to do it in order for you to be ready for whatever your event is. On the right-hand side, here's what the support team is going to do for you and support you.
And you took on all the fixed expense of that support team and trained them.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, 10 years ago, I had one. 7 years ago, I had 2. And today we have
20 with leadership.
20. Well, we have 8. Well, I back up. That's wrong. We have 28 because we have 18 that are just support. And then we have 10 leadership members.
So there's marketing playbooks.
Yes.
Let's talk about lead conversion. Do you have a team that does lead conversion for appointment setting, or do the agents do their own lead conversion? How have you handled that?
Both. We have both.
So you have the option of getting to call support, or you do it yourself. Great. Okay. So you have that.
So it's just
and
options.
Then you teach them how to go on a listing presentation or get a buyer's agency assigned.
Both. Yep.
Right.
Yes.
They get the listing contract. Woohoo. What about getting the thing on the MLS and getting the photos and getting the thing actually advertised? Is there support there?
100%.
Do you have a listing checklist?
Yes. So what they need to do is just go out and just list and sell. We'll do everything else.
So the whole value proposition is just list and sell, and there's support on the marketing. There's lead conversion support for the calls if you need. And then everything after listing contract signed, the listing and transaction management is handled. That's good.
And then there's one more piece, and that is for the people that want more. It's an expansion leader call that I do with people that are above 15 million in volume. And we run some, I call them micro events that are specific only for the group. And I lead that call myself because they've earned the right to, to be in that room. And that's actually a really fun group because they're actually people that get things done and do things, and they're doing it at a high level. So we run micro events for them.
Nice.
Yeah.
Who's your leadership team? Who are your key people that are under you that run the whole thing, and what do they do?
So it used to be me as the CEO. Now, Joe Quattrucci is the vice president. He's been with me about 3 years, and he moved all the way across the country to join our tribe, Frank, to join our culture, to join the vision for where we're going, not the person that's leading it. So that's a very different concept.
When did you know Joe was fully into your mission and vision?
I would say pretty quickly. However, I did learn something, through the years, through career visioning and things like that, that typically you don't know for sure, even though you think you know, for 2.5, 3 years. And I would say that you can tell it's when they start taking things off your plate, when they start pushing you. And that's exactly what happened. And even when I thought he was ready, I waited another 6 months. And then when I did, everybody was so happy for him. They were thrilled that he was being promoted.
Well, they probably felt it.
Yeah. And so then we have a vice president who leads the Alaska organization. We have vice president of expansion. We have director of expansion. We have the vice president of Growthwork Consulting, who does all of our coaching and consulting for everybody in our organization. We have our director of events, who runs all of my events. I'm sure, am I thinking of everybody? We have our director of Kristan's Home of Hope, which is our 501c3. And we have our director of marketing, who has taken our marketing to a whole nother level.
This is so interesting. You're selling real estate for 37 years. And it wasn't until how long ago you decided to double down on writing all these checks for people and to build an organization? It wasn't that necessarily long ago, relatively, was it?
No, I mean, we started expansion in 2012, but I would say the first 3 years were a train wreck. Because Gary says you need 3 key hires, and I needed all 3 of them. So the hire was me.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say our trajectory really took off in 2017. So 5 years ago.
Yeah. Relatively speaking, relatively new for such an organization, and surviving and getting through a pandemic makes it a little bit harder.
Little thing.
Great. I love how you double down on everyone's on the same CRM.
Mm-hmm.
Who built that? How did you tell me how you figured that out? Because I think when you expand, getting the infrastructure on a CRM is like incredibly important, overlooked, and not talked about. What do you want to say to that?
Well, it's the moat around your business. And my entire business was built off of our CRM and our events. And so getting everybody dialed into the CRM and using it. I actually got Ben Kenny on a call with all my leaders, and I made them make a verbal, it's like an airplane in an exit row, I need your yes verbally and in English. We kind of did the same thing. I need you guys' commitment that we're going to use Brivity across all of our locations the same way. The tags are the same way. Everything is going to be done the same way, so that our ISAs and our support team, when they see something tagged one way, they know exactly what that means. So it was getting uniformity, which meant I think I had over 100 tags, narrowed down to very few, because I was very complex, because I wanted to know where every single lead came from, and, what's the source of the source of the source. And that doesn't work at scale. So just getting super clear on how we were going to tag the database, how we were going to touch the database, what support was going to do versus what the agent needed to do. So we just got super clear.
I got to ask you, when you're in a 100% commission organization and you have that stress of the ups and downs of the market, of you having to go, right? Where did you find the bandwidth to sit back and have that meeting to figure out the infrastructure and the tagging system and the organizations of a CRM? Like that had to take some serious growth to be able to do that.
I think that and our onboarding system that we created, we call it 66 days to KCN. Those were the two hardest things we did. And we just made a commitment as a team. We knew there's no way we were going to get it done in 30 days. So we just said this year, which was, we started, it was 2021. We made a commitment to ourselves and to Ben to run it at the highest level. And we did the same thing with our onboarding system and how we automated it and yet still had a human element to it. That is a really challenging thing to do. And I think if you're realistic and know that it's not going to be built in a day, and however the end product is going to allow you to scale to whatever level you want to scale to, it's like all of a sudden it's like, what do we want to do? Who do we want to go after? Who do we think is a fit in our organization? Because there's no fear to onboarding 50 people in one swoop, or there's no, we just have the support.
Yeah.
We have the systems to do it.
What would you say for your 150 agents? What are the most popular, not maybe necessarily the most effective, but most popular ways to get listing and buyer leads, or the playbooks they execute with you that are used?
Our
Relatively
events.
speaking, the events. So your
Yeah, events
culture
like
of lead generation is everyone's holding events.
Mhm.
Makes sense because you brought them into an event. Got it.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense because if 87% of all buyers and sellers said that they would use their realtor again, but only 13% of buyers did and only 29% of sellers did, there's a disconnect there. And this disconnect is agents think that connecting means sending them a recipe card in the mail. That's not connecting with people. So events done right, done well it is a massive connection. And also, as my director of marketing has taught me, the serotonin levels go up and it connects you to that person at a much deeper level
Sure.
than any other type of lead gen you can do.
So your kind of modus operandi for all of your agents, when they come in and they say, I need business, I'm going to generate my own business. The playbooks they're executing are events, and you have the support staff to support the event model. And you found that's the way that aligns with human behavior in your culture to scale lead generation consistently and reliably over time.
Well, open houses work too, but those go after buyers.
I consider that an event.
But if you really want to put a moat around your business where somebody can't introduce your client to a new relationship and take them away from you, it's events. And it can be micro events, it can be big events. However, there's got to be a way that you're connecting with those people in a different way, such that regardless of any new relationship that they might be introduced to, they're not leaving the nest, so to speak. They're not going somewhere else.
In your
But
model,
that is something you can teach, and that is a skill. I'll tell you, we had a guy who joined us a couple years ago. He'd been in the business 33 years, Frank, never got above 8 to 10 million. He's going to hit 40 million this year. What's the difference?
being around positive people, which probably the next question I'm going to ask is, what's the daily meeting rhythm of being plugged into something as a human being? And then having like the right consistent strategy where you're not distracted.
So what he was doing is recreating the business one client at a time. He had 25 boxes in his garage from his closings that he'd never put in a CRM.
Oh yeah. Or it's all your CRMs, your email account, or the Post-it notes that are sitting around you. Yeah.
So, helping him see that if he wants to build a business that no one can take away from him, building the
pretty incredible.
database, events.
Yeah.
It's been incredible what he has accomplished in 2.5 short years. And that's available to everybody. They just have to be willing.
So let's talk about human behavior. So your organization predominantly works from home, I would assume.
A lot of them do.
People do. There's a place they can go, but what's the meeting rhythm? What meeting rhythms have you set up throughout your organization to keep communication moving? Which ones have you found work well as a meeting rhythm for your agents and your leadership team? Share that with us.
And it has changed over time. So today we do a Wednesday training call, which is really around what is the message of the moment and how do you need to understand it and execute it such that you are connecting with your clients. And so we have several topics that we train on every quarter, like every quarter. And then the additional topics that need to be trained on because it's a market of the moments. On every other Friday, I lead the expansion leader call, which is all agents above 15 million in volume. Once a month, we do a call for everyone on Fridays. And then we supplement it. For instance, my husband does a Friday script call that anyone can join. We have a daily stand-up 15-minute scripts and role play with our friends at Team Integrity. So scripts and role play every day. It's not mandatory, it's opt-in, but if you want the business that you want, you're going to do it. Wednesday skill, very highly, right now we're in a highly skilled agent market, not a seller's market. You better be a skilled agent. And then Fridays with the expansion leaders and once a month with the entire organization. As a leadership team, it's every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
Do you have a calendar for all this?
Oh, Frank, are you kidding me? I live and die by my calendar. Some people say you're so busy. No, I'm highly, highly scheduled.
I mean, you're right on time today, right at 3:30. There it is.
That's my calendar. So it just tells me what to do and I do it.
Last question, and then I'll
Yeah.
open up to a few questions. You're seeing more and more, and again, there's how do you set the appointment for your agents? Have you tried the idea of like setting the listing appointment or actually setting an appointment and going that far into lead generation? Has that worked for you? Do you see that in the future? What's your thoughts on going so far as to setting the appointment? You may not be able to afford to do it the splits you're doing, but that's another expansion models. We just set the appointment for you. Give your thoughts on that and just what you're hearing in the industry with regard to actually setting the appointment.
I think having the trained ISAs to do that, if someone wants it, I think it's a choice. It doesn't have to be that way. I do think that there's some personality types that can go in and crush it at the kitchen table, but they're not great at setting appointments. And so I think there's room for both. And so having the option for both, I think is ideal. If you're a high D personality, you'll set your own appointments, but it's even better if somebody will set them for you. But what I find is high Ds don't like that because they want to be able to go into the appointment ready to go in and out in 20 or 30 minutes. And they can't do that if they didn't set the appointment and don't know the client at all.
Yeah, the pre-appointment process.
Someone's at the high S, high C can sit down and take as much time as possible on a listing appointment, but they're not going to set an appointment. So they will close a lot more business if you're setting the appointment for them.
Got it. Question, someone asked, do you ever share your playbooks for the public? Is there a way someone could see it there? I think there's probably more interest in the way it's formatted, put together. Or is that proprietary just to joining?
No, we have shared them. Like, for instance, anything I teach, 9 times out of 10, they'll ask for one of the playbooks. And so, because here's the thing, once you kind of have the foundational system on how to do it, they're easy to write. They're just writing the first one super hard. So if I can give you one of them and it helps you move forward, because I think once you've got the framework for it, it's not that hard.
I think it's more just seeing how it's put together.
Yeah.
Than the actual information inside of it.
Right.
So we'll see if I can get something and set up for the replay, but I hope everyone here enjoyed this. Just a little 30 minutes of Kristan. What's the best mega agent expansion model? We went through exactly on the promotion of the webinar, the ideal expansion agent persona target market, how to book recruiting appointments, invite to events, the fee and split structure, simplified, what services you provide, and the marketing support for the playbooks. You went through some of the positions on your leadership team. We talked about the pain of setting up the CRM to scale. We didn't really cover job descriptions or org chart. We didn't have time for that. That's okay. But the amount of work that goes into creating training courses for everything is really, really hard. And getting to the point where you have more than one person in a role. So if you have a sick day or they're out, you can still cover. So you have the revenue to cover enough people. The listing and the listing marketing is all through events throughout your organization. And the daily meeting rhythms. So I think we covered everything that we promised. And you have a course that just started that people can still enroll in. Briefly tell us about that, Kristan.
It's called scaleyourbusiness.co, not .com, .co. And really, we take you through an 8-week course once a week for an hour that teaches you how to build the foundation that we just talked about. How do you build those foundational pieces so that you can grow your business, whether or not you want to grow in the footprint that you're already in, another zip code, another city, another state. So it teaches you how to put all of that together and so that you can grow your business. We've had single agents take it. We have big
What's
teams
the
take it.
what's the URL, Kristan?
Scaleyourbusiness.co.
Got it. I'll put it here in the chat for everybody.
The cool thing about it is you can go back and listen to any of the 8 weeks, 60 days after the class ends. And there's homework in between each week so that we can actually teach you how to do it. And you come back and we talk about the homework because one thing leads or, builds upon another. So Gary says you can be anyone. Gary Keller says you can be anywhere you want to be in 5 years. Where do you want to be? Well, you've got to build it on a foundation that can scale. Most of us build it on our entrepreneurial personality. And that only works for so long. And then you get stuck. And so if you're stuck and you want to go beyond where you are, then you're probably missing some foundational elements to do it.
And you have figured those out, to say the least.
For now, until we have to break it and fix it again.
Yeah, it works until it doesn't. Well, Kristan, thanks so much for doing this. I hope you guys all enjoyed. We'll put the replay up for everyone to watch. And thanks for asking your questions. And hopefully you guys got some good insight into the best mega agent expansion model that works in 30 minutes. And I think you have definitely delivered that, Kristan. So thank you so very much.
It was my pleasure. And it's good to see you again.
Good to see you too. See everybody. Take care.